Now here's one that is from 2002. And it is actually a sketch. Actually, it's on the back of something too. Well, let's see. Yeah, it's on the back of a shipping slip. But this was something that had to do with a project I was working for concerning Dark Horse Comics. At the time, I had read in Wizard magazine, this is back in 2002, that they would send scripts. There was an 8-page script. I think it was called Deadly Game. And it was basically a trial. You basically show your hand. If you were a good penciler, inker, you do the work and send it in, that kind of thing. Well, I penciled my drawings and I inked them, and I send those pages back in. Maybe we'll have time to look at those sometime. I don't know. I look at them now and see what's wrong with them. But it's not bad work. It's just that there were still a lot of things that I had to learn, and I still need to learn. But this was one of the preliminary sketches for a particular panel that this one I didn't use. Actually, I used something a little bit different. It's quite good. But yeah, I forgot that I had even done this, and I was going through my my old pages, and I came across this, and I said, oh, look at that. Isn't that interesting, right? And there was something about it that appealed to me, and I decided to hold on to it. And I thought, hey, maybe I'll bring that one up too. So first step would be to make some photocopies and get some correction fluid on those photocopies. It was a black ink drawing, so it was going to be easy to work with. And so I went ahead and started making my first copies. And as you can see here, I got the photocopy onto an, 8 by 11.5, or is that 8.5 by 11, whatever, binder size paper. One day I'll remember that, what the dimensions are. But anyway, yeah, I went to work with correction fluid, banging out some of the bad lines I didn't think worked. But, just to, right away, I knew I had some problems with her left arm bent over like that. It looked too long to me, too muscular. There was too much line work there. Also, I thought this stuff here, the shading here, had to go. I think at the time what I was thinking was a shadowing of this area because of the creature in front of her jumping towards her and stuff. But I decided to get rid of a lot of the line work on the arm. I was going to restructure that. I knew a lot of the stuff on the back would just have to go too. So, there was a lot of stuff that I felt I had to knock out. And, tightening up around the boot structure, that kind of thing. As I said, getting rid of some of the bad line work that would appear and come up. So I started in with that correction fluid. Continuing to white out, bad line work, hammering away at that arm. It was really driving me crazy. Didn't like it. And as far as I was concerned, it was still too long there, and it was really bugging me. So eventually I just got to a point where I totally knocked it out, along with some line work all through the leg, all over the place, really. The lines were reducing, becoming smaller and smaller. And it was also a matter of, look at how much of this page is still here. Then it dawned on me, maybe you should blow this up and use the rest of this page to fill in, right? To extend the page over, because it looks like you've got your villain here cut in half and you're not seeing the rest of his body. Well, at least not very much of it. He's kind of like jumping into the panel, which is okay because he's in the foreground and you want, the shot to be focused in towards her so you get a sense of motion, that kind of thing. But anyway, got rid of that arm, and I'm starting to look outside of the page now and starting to think. Well then, and you'd know what time it was, right? Then I just started hammering away with the pencils, putting in the pencil work of the background. We got thunder and lightning going on back there. We got planets up the top. We got a Mercury-like terrain with these pits of like tar-like substance. Perhaps it's even blood with steam coming out from it. We got these pits, liquid pits full of skulls and bubbles, and it's a real hellish terrain, right? We've got the reflection of our bad guy here coming through. You see part of his hand penciled in here. It's hard to come up, like this is a photocopy of the pencil, so it's really light. I'm finding it light. You might find it impossible to see. I don't know. But let's bring this up and, kind of look down at the bottom there and back up, right? You see all the skulls and stuff in the foreground, and bodies, and the steam, and the rocks, and the pits, and the quarries, and all that. So that's all getting drawn in there at this stage. Then in a quantum leap-like fashion, I just went up to town on it, decided, you know how it goes, like I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I'm going to finish these inks off tonight. And I just sat down and got to it. They were on the board. And you saw some of the process happening on the On the Board episodes. But, yeah, I didn't want to show it up close just then because I figured, let me get it completed first before I go and do all that, right? So, yeah, there it was, right? Top to bottom there. We got more structure of our demon guy here. We got his anatomy of his back there. A bit heavily ripped and not quite human, if you notice. Almost a steroid packed, but I don't know. I was feeling it out as I was going along. But I did change the back structure quite a bit, as you can see, because the back was really... Let's take a look at that again, just to show you the difference, right? Yeah, as far as I was concerned, that anatomy was whack, right? And, the basic forms I can do all day. Like, I can get the shape of the body in there all the time. Kind of curvy it out, right? But I think I was, really doing a hack job on the anatomy as I was rushing through this drawing, doing a lot of chicken scratching and stuff. There it was. But I knew, I had to restructure that. One of the first things I did when I decided to draw on the back was get it the spinal erectors to pop out. Because of the position of the back, it's arched backwards, right? So that would tighten these up, and then it would lock in here in the center, just underneath the rhomboids, right? Have the rhomboids squished together because he's kind of... It's almost like he's in a rowing position, but he's not. But that's the form that the upper back would take, with the latissimus dorsi pulling towards the center, right? And the traps, hunched up as if he's rowing upwards. The shoulders would be somewhat varied because, one, he's just got his arm in a crook, right? Bent straight forward like so, whereas this one is jetting out, and you can see that reflection here. You can see the reflection of his face and the hand out down here in this section here. And yeah, the feet were important to me too. I was thinking, well, how am I going to do these? Yeah, this one, right? I'll have the soles of the feet here like this. And, originally what I wanted to do with this right foot was have it cover up this area because I didn't want to be too, I didn't want to draw attention to... Never mind, it's silly, but whatever. It is what it is. Like as a physical form, but there you go. Right? And just went around and blacked out these little pits of liquid and stuff, and, put in some space stuff up there, the planets and the lightning. Came up with a kind of weird technique on the lightning. I'm going to push up close so you can get a better look at the detail. There we go. All right. Now, let's take a closer look at things there. Pull this over a bit. Yeah, that should be not do it right. So you can see the top. See the technique with the thunder and lightning, with the lines? If I was to do this differently, like what did I learn from this drawing? I would say that if I'm going to use this technique with the white, see how you got the white fins of the light coming out around the lightning bolts themselves. I'd say I'd try to make them a bit more parallel. I just went in and did it. I wasn't even thinking of that. But I thought the next time I'll do it, I'll make sure they're tighter. Make sure they're parallel. Yeah. So on examination of this particular work, I started thinking, I don't know. I started wondering, who would I compare my drawings to? And I'd say they kind of got I don't know. What am I leaning towards here? Kind of a Jim Starlin kind of approach? I don't know. But I like what's going on the page, though. It looks good. Took a while. But, yeah, that's what happened taking this sketch from the past out of the dust pile, out of the dust bin, out of the slush pile, whatever, right? From, at least 20 years ago, or better, actually. If it's as old as, oh no, sorry, this one's 2002, yeah, so yeah, oh yeah, it's quite old. It's over 20 years, so there you go, right? And bringing it up to a fully realized composition. And, not only completing the work, but completing the whole drawing itself. This is 11 by 17, this page, whatever. I keep it in a large portfolio under plastic and stuff. You can see all the correction fluid. Boy, I really go to town with the correction fluid, though. A lot like Wally Wood would do. It doesn't matter. It's not, when you make your copies, your photocopies, that stuff all goes away. Let me see. I think I got a photocopy here, actually, of it. Yeah, I mean, after the correction fluid is put in and all that. Yeah, here we go. It's going to seem a little less black, a little bit grayer, but that's how it looks. It becomes smoother, right? That's what you end up with. And those will be your copies. And the next stage, of course, would be coloring. And for sure, if and when I get this colored, I'll put it back up here so people can get a look at it. Well, that was that one. Really happy with it, too. Worked out all right. And found it. Yeah, that original one where I was making my first amendments on this drawing. You can see here. This is the one with the satchel. This actually can be peeled off, but it's glued on. It's the one. Can you make that out? I wonder. Let's get in closer. You can see a lot of the whiteout, eliminating a lot of the bad spots on the drawing. But if you look, the ink has a different hue, right? So it was a matter of taking a photocopy, bringing the density down, right, to a certain level, and then applying more ink as I was, bringing the drawing up. But as you can see, the hues are different. One's more of a purple quality, so it's probably a difference between a Bic and a Papermate, if you look, right? And I don't know if you can make this out, but the whiteness of this paper, it's kind of a gloss paper, right? And this is actually stuck onto this photocopy that I was barely starting to rough out, This was before the fingers were fixed up, I believe. And let's see. Yeah, and this was kind of warped here, too. This would have to be repaired. This is at a different stage, the drawing, though. Yeah, and this was before I put in the heavier blacks, what I was telling you about, the blacks and the crack shadow. The crack shadow's there, but I went heavier on them later. But yeah, I was wondering what happened to this. I went looking for something else and found this one. What I was looking for is this coming up. Hold on. Now, here's one I also took a long time taking my time getting around to this one. This one was put up on the on the board series quite some time ago. I think it might have been one or two parts, episode 1 or 2. Not sure. But it's the nature girl on the horse. And this is the original drawing from back as far as 2001, actually. This is an oldie. And this is the copy. It's the original copy, but it's just smeared with correction fluid. What I should have done, see, I did this before I had a real idea about how I was going to go about bringing these pictures up, progressively. And I blocked out a lot of the mistakes. What I should have done with this one, and I regret, is that, I should have left the original, made a photocopy of the original, and then applied my correction fluid, if you know what I mean. Then you could see exactly what I was correcting. As you can see, the bum here has been coated over. A lot of this work in the back has been coated over, and then the rest is just various marks and stuff. And that foot would have to go. The structure's kind of bad on it. But anyway, that was a start. That was the starting point for this one. Not really much there. A horse, girl, the beginnings of the horse's head, as you can see, but no backgrounds, nothing. So the first step was to get a blown up version of this on the 8x11s, right? And a little bit of touch up work here, correction fluid, whatever. And then see what we could do. Next step would be to start penciling in a lot of the structure and the background. Alrighty, at this stage, a lot of the penciling in of the shadow work is coming into play on her right side of the horse. Putting in the trees and leaves, the tree trunks of the path that the horse is traveling up, starting to pencil in, and inking the outlines of those pencils, right? Just rough outlines, feeling my way through it at that stage. And then at this point, really going in guns blazing, penciling out everything, structure, texture of the tree bark, the ground vegetation, vegetation in the foreground, details on the horse, some of the, the feathering and the shading, blacking out, darkening the shadows underneath the leaves, and showing these rays of sun peeking through the tree trunks, right? I want to take a closer look at the pencils because the next pictures are heavy inks, right? These are hard enough to see, though, I notice, the pencils in these videos. But as you could see, by this time I was going to town. I was going for something here, trying to finish it off, right? Just the bottom of that. Just trying to get her done. By this time, the inks were starting to get serious, starting to black out. A lot of the shadow work here. I'd go in heavier with this too, but starting to make distinctions in the areas that aren't highlighted by the sunbeams cutting through the trees, right? Putting in the blacks, inking them out, the shadows underneath the tree leaves in the foreground, putting detail in the tree bark on a lot of the trees, right? Already starting in with that. Still working my way around it, taking a closer look. And the next stage would be, of course, finishing off the inks, which I did last night, actually. Let's take a look. And there it was, fully realized. And let me pin those corners down so we can straighten her out and then take a closer look. Yeah, I don't know how the contrast is on that. Let's play with the light a bit, see if we can get a better picture. I don't know, bringing up the light. Yeah. Well, we'll play with the light. Okay, not beyond that point. There we go. That medium seems to be pretty good, right about there. But there it was. Let's take a closer look. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I enjoyed bringing this one into the present. I think this was a new adventure. I don't know what I was going for here. The shadow of the leaves on both figures of the horse and the girl. I don't know if it would have been better if they were solid blacks, but I decided to go in with linear, right? You see that? It's not cross-hatching, but linear. It's all linear, 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 all up the side, right? And then I had to play with it in between the leaf shadow and her actual hair, and just, I don't know, whatever's there. It's, in real life it wouldn't be clear, so it was really tough, right, to just depart and separate myself from this and let it go. Let it go and just put in the line work, put in the structure of hair, and then, play back and forth with each. And you get that, something like that. Something in shadow, but not deep enough shadow that you couldn't see through it, sort of thing, if you know what I mean. Almost like suggesting that, sure, there's sun coming through here and it's casting a shadow of the leaves on her back, but still there's the ambience within the trail itself that has its own light. So it's not, it's not totally blacked out. Although I did go dark on some areas on this side of the horse or underneath the muzzle here where the bridle comes into play and stuff. Yeah, and then there's I like the element of the sunbeams cutting through, causing a contrast. That's kind of unique too. That's kind of new to me. And there was that one. One thing I don't think. Let's see. Oh yeah, there's the rose in the foreground too, right? I don't know if you can see that. Let's see. Right over, is it here? Yeah. The rose, not quite opened up. The petal's still tight. There's dew on the leaves and stuff. I thought for a while there I was going to, I was thinking maybe I should put some dragonflies in there and stuff. Or butterflies or insects on the leaves or something. And it's still a good idea and it's still something I could do. But I'd probably, if I was to do that now, I'd probably draw them and then cut them out as paste ups and just put them where I wanted them, right? Or maybe make a dragonfly go straight across the figure, large right? Because it's in the foreground sort of thing. I don't know. But it's fine the way it is, and I brought it up, and I'm glad I held on to the image, and I don't know, it inspired me enough to finish it anyway. Now I'll put it in with the archives, and that'll be it. Now on to the next one. And I think that'll be our final one for tonight. I'm getting kind of tired. Now what you're looking at here in ballpoint pen, actually I'm going to bring that right off the board and up closer anyway, is, ballpoint pen sketch. It's the beginnings or the inklings of a female Grim Reaper type with the hair flowing backward in the back and her garment fragmenting and breaking off, almost like liquid, almost like she's almost like a mist or a mirage you might see in the distance, not really sure if she has a solid form, kind of thing. That's what's being suggested there. So the first thing I would do is, of course, blow it up. And so that was in fact what I went and did. Blew her up. And as well as blowing up the image, I placed her in black and white mode because I figured I'm going to go full ink on this, make a pen and ink drawing of her, you know, brushes, dip pens, etc., etc. So this next pic, what you're looking at here is actually a shrunken down version of an 11 by 17 bigger work, right? And as you can see there, I started putting in water, the shimmering of the moon in the background, putting in the background, and actually putting in one and then two doors, right, behind her as though she's just opened them up, right? And continuing with the garment flowing up in pieces and stuff, and, you know, concentrating on the detail of the water and the waves, right? And working on that, And the next, and then I just kind of neglected it, and I didn't go near it for a while. And the next phase would be me completing it. And let me show you that actual size and the completed drawing. And so suddenly there it was. It was the 11 by 17 fully inked, India ink all over. Got the doors in, got the detailing done on the hinges, garments done, got a sheen on the sickle, all the water structures done, the mountains in the background, etc., etc., etc. And at that stage I decided to let it go. Up here though, I thought I'd like to fill in some more, you know, a deeper black. The inks, the two inks I were using, the one had a different sheen to it. One was shinier, and I thought about painting it over. And then I thought, well, no, it kind of looks like cloud structure there, so that's fine too. So I just decided to leave it. Now, I don't know. I guess what I'd like to do is get up close so you can look at some of the detail. I was going to throw an 8 by 11 up here so we could get really close and just still show the whole thing. But let's do it the other way and just move up towards it. Like so, right? There we go. And there she is in all her splendor. Let's take a look at the detailing on the door. If we can there. See that? Right. You know? The rest of the garment breaking in pieces, that sort of thing. Breaking away, fragmenting. On the other side here, you can look at the water and whatnot. The other door, the moon and the shimmering on the water, right? There it was. And there was another one brought up into present day. This particular image came from 2008. Yeah, the original drawing, that is. And brought up into present day. Kind of cool image. There's more actually images of this Grim Reaper image. I think there's another 4 or 5 of them, and they're a bit more dramatic, and some of them are interesting. So I thought there is one in particular I'm thinking about bringing up. We'll see if it doesn't end up on the board, so to speak, for the self-indulgence series, right? But that's going to wrap it up for this one anyway. So we got in some good stuff there. I actually had a pretty productive day with these things. I haven't posted for a while, but there's other things going on too I'm trying to wrap up. But again, we're getting to the end of the year, and I'm going to want to put a year-end summary, right, and just show the works that actually took place for the year, and go from there. Thought about some other things. We'll see if we can get to them. There's probably a handful of works here and there. Maybe, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 drawings that I can post before the new year. I don't know. Some things came up. Yeah, I just wanted to get a bunch in before I had to start that longer video in Sticky Notary. Anyway, thanks for joining, and I hope you got something out of this, and hope you enjoyed watching the process of bringing these old sketches up to date. I don't know, maybe you'd like to try something like that yourself. If you have some of your old works, you'd like to look at them. One of the things I was talking about a couple of years ago was just, well, not quite a couple of years. Yeah, I guess 2023 going into 2024, or the beginning of 2024. I was talking about how you could look at your old work from back in the day and see what's wrong with it, but instead of crumpling it up or not touching it or not going near it, try and look at it and say, could I redraw this? Could I fix this? As part of an exercise and as part of something quite satisfactory. You get a lot of satisfaction out of it when you bring the work up into full realization. It's good. It educates yourself. It helps hone your craft too, I believe. Helps you learn. I don't know. I just enjoy doing it. What I find is that, I'd rather look at the fully realized work than the sketches, right? The sketches are there. They can inspire. But when the work's fully realized, you get something out of it. Perhaps you'd like to share your stuff too. I don't know. Thanks again for joining. We'll see you next time.